Today we'll speak about the way or path of reaching or getting to Atammayata in particular. We'll speak particularly about this path. We mentioned previously that anapanasati is the complete system of practice which is the most efficient way of realizing Atammayata. In the word anapanasati, the most important word is sati. The last word, sati, mindfulness, is the key, the crucial element in anapanasati. However, of all the ways of training and using mindfulness, training mindfulness on the breathing in and out is the most beneficial approach, is the best way. When one practices anapanasati completely and correctly, according to the way it is taught in the Pali scriptures, then one has a way of practice that is complete and perfect. In that there is sila, or ethics, proper conduct in speech. There's samadhi, the calming and stabilizing of the mind. And there is panya, intuitive wisdom. In anapanasati, when practiced as taught by the Buddha, there will be these three elements, the three trainings of the path will be there together and complete. There are many ways of practicing. There are other ways of practicing anapanasati, but if these other ways will not be complete in sila, samadhi, and panya. The yogis in India are also practicing anapanasati in many forms. They call it pranayama, which means controlling the breath. And this is done in all kinds of different ways according to the way each of these yogis has learned. Prana means breath, but it can just as well mean life, because in the old days, people took that breath was life. So prana means both breath, life, and is even seen as the life force. This understanding of pranayama goes back very, very far, before there was anything that we could properly call religion. Back the people who were still living in the forests, caves, and jungles started to notice the wonder and excellence of the breath, how marvelous and powerful the breath could be. This was something that occurred naturally. This was taught to them by nature. And in a natural way, they discovered pranayama. What they discovered was that when the breath is long, with long, healthy breaths, a lot of one feels really comfortable and at ease. There's a great feeling of health and strength. When one breathes in long, easy breaths, a lot of oxygen is brought in, and so the body is very comfortable. The body is able to rest and relax. And also breathing in this way this way of breathing controls and eliminates any bad or evil moods. A lot of harmful mind states such as anger, fear, and so on. And this long, deep, healthy breathing can just sweep all of those ugly mind states out. And then the mind will be calm and clear and peaceful as well. This was discovered in a very natural way. Or if there was a cut and blood was flowing, with very long, relaxed, deep breaths, the blood flow would slow down and could even be stopped by the influence of the breathing. This is an example of how the breathing can control the body, of the powerful influence of the breath when it's used properly to control the body. The breathing has various physical effects on the body, as we've mentioned, including it lowers the blood pressure. The long, deep breathing can lower the blood pressure. There are also mental effects and influences as well. The long, deep breathing is able to calm away, sweep away any harmful emotions and moods which assail the mind. And so in this way, anapanasati was a science way before anybody really knew of the word science. It's a very ancient science naturally discovered by our primitive ancestors. We should understand mindfulness with breathing in this aspect as a starting place. Then in the Buddha's time, 2,500 years ago, it seems that the knowledge and practice of anapanasati had spread all over India, because even at the age of 7, the young prince, Siddhartha, who later left home and became the Buddha, as a young prince, the Prince Siddhartha was practicing anapanasati and was quite successful in the early stages of it at the age of 7. But in those days, the way of practice was incomplete. It hadn't been developed to its completion, to its full potential. But then the Buddha was exploring anapanasati, and through his explorations, investigations, and discoveries, developed it further and further until awakening. The Buddha said that he awakened, achieved complete liberation while practicing anapanasati. He had been practicing it and taking it further and further beyond what anyone else had done with it, until taking it all the way to perfect liberation. And then in this way completed the system of practice and realized its fullest potential. The Buddha himself said that when practicing this to the point that I dwelled only in anapanasati, then there was the final awakening. And so because of this, the Buddha recommended and taught this system specifically. The Buddha only taught one system of meditation, and this is the system of anapanasati. Now sometimes he didn't use this name. Sometimes he spoke of it in terms of the satipatthana, the foundations of mindfulness. But he was teaching the same system of meditation, and it's the system of anapanasati that he practiced himself. And this is what he taught and encouraged the monks to do. Nowadays there are dozens of kinds of meditation, but the Buddha himself taught only one. And we maintain that this is the practice called anapanasati. Then 1,000 years after the Buddha, there was a Brahmin man who became a Buddhist and wrote a big fat book called the Visuddhimagga, the Path of Purity. This man, Buddhaghosa Acharya, collected a lot of information on meditation, and in this book he recorded 40 kinds of meditation. And so ever since, Buddhists have been going around talking about the 40 kinds of meditation. And then after that, more and more techniques and methods and systems of meditation have been invented, so that now there's all kinds of them all over the place. None of these newly invented systems, however, are better than anapanasati. None of them achieve better results. So one ought to be interested in the original system, the system used and practiced by the Buddha himself, because it's a system that goes back way before the Buddha, discovered by our ancient ancestors, and then it is developed and evolved through the experience of many, many people until it was perfected through the Buddha's experience. So this is an ancient and venerable system of practice, one that we ought to be interested in. But nowadays you hear about Theravadan meditation, Mahayana meditation, Zen meditation, Tibetan meditation, all kinds of meditations all over, and doing all kinds of different things. Please note, however, that anapanasati is a way of meditation, is a complete system that is quiet, simple, and peaceful. In anapanasati, for example, one doesn't have to make any noise. One can do it while sitting very quietly. One doesn't have to stand and stretch and move the body around in various postures and movements. One can sit peacefully and do it. It's very simple. One doesn't have to bring in any complicated theories or any visualizations or any of that. It's very quiet, calm, simple system of meditation. One doesn't have to also carry around any special furniture or special devices in order to meditate. The details about practicing anapanasati can be found in a manual that has already been printed. So if you're interested, you can find that book and study it yourselves. What we'd like to discuss today is how anapanasati leads to the realization of the knowledge which is called Atammayata. In anapanasati there are 4 areas of study, 4 groups of lessons for us to investigate. The first group or area is about the body, in specifically preparing the body and the nervous system so that they're calm and quiet and provide a fitting foundation for higher levels of study and practice. If you study the meaning of the first area regarding the body, you'll see that it prepares the body so that one is able to investigate things on a higher and more profound level. The second area helps us to know how the mind relates to the body, how the body and mind are interrelated, and then to lessen the ability of that relationship, that association, to concoct the mind. The third area deals with the mind itself directly. The third area is about understanding the mind in its various manifestations and then mastering that mind. Mastering by making by delighting it, forcing the mind to be glad and delighted, by stabilizing the mind, collecting it and concentrating it, and then liberating it, freeing it. The third area is all about mastering the mind so that one is out from under the mind's control and power. Then when the body and mind has been prepared through these first three groups of lessons, then one comes to the fourth group. And this is where the mind starts to look into the reality of things. And this is where there arise first of all, anicca, the fact of impermanence. So one studies, contemplates the fact of impermanence. And then you don't have to worry if this is done correctly, it will lead to all the other tas, all of the 9 tas, from impermanence to unsatisfactoriness, selflessness, naturalness, the natural law, conditionality, voidness, thusness, and finally unconcoctability, Atammayata. In the discourse where the Buddha discussed this, or in the discourses where this is discussed, only anicca is mentioned. But if anicca is seen thoroughly and correctly, it will lead to seeing all the rest of the 9 tas. The first 3 areas of training are essentially the development of samadhi, developing the mind's strength, clarity, and power. Or we can say samatha, the development of tranquility. So the first 3 groups of lessons develop samadhi. And within that, there is also sila. There's ethics and morality. But then the 4th area is where vipassana specifically is essentially and purely vipassana, seeing clearly into the nature of things. Or we can say this is the part of the practice that is exclusively panya, about intuitive wisdom. To just go and see things in their true nature it just doesn't happen. First, the body and mind have to be calmed and prepared. The mind must be stabilized, cleared, and focused. If this is done properly with the first areas of practice, then it's possible to come to see anicca quite easily. It's seen all over, in all its aspects, in all meanings, and significations of the fact of anicca. The word ta, or in Thai da, in Pali merely means state of being, the state of being. But coincidentally, this word in Thai, same sounding spelling, means I, the thing we see with, E-Y-E. So in Thai, da means I, or eyes. And so in Pali, the 9 tas are the 9 states of being, but in Thai, they're the 9 eyes. And this is 9 ways of seeing reality, 9 ways of seeing the truth, or 9, we can say the 9 insights, the 9 vipassana. The mind is prepared correctly, then these 9 eyes arise and enable one to see things as they really are, which is the meaning of vipassana. When anicca, the fact of impermanence, is seen thoroughly, then there is all 9 of these tas. When all 9 eyes arise, then there is what we call viraka. There's the fading away of ignorance. When all these 9 eyes are there, then ignorance fades away, and the defilements fade away. Attachment fades away, and dukkha fades away. Viraka means fading away. So there's this fading away of dukkha and all the things associated with dukkha, all the causes of dukkha. It's just like the dye used to dye cloth, the color used to dye cloth. If you keep pouring water into this color, this dye, then it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. It fades and fades. And so this is what happens once the 9 eyes arise. This fading away of dukkha and the causes of dukkha is the activity of Atammayata working. All these 9 eyes culminating in Atammayata, and then the activity of them working is this fading away. As this fading, once there is this fading away, then there is a quenching. There's the quenching of dukkha. Dukkha is quenched. And then there's the quenching of defilements. And there is the quenching of attachment, which is the cause of defilements in dukkha. And there's the quenching of ignorance, which is the ultimate cause of all dukkha. So this is the results of the activity of Atammayata. The result, the fruit of Atammayata's working is this quenching of dukkha, of attachment, of ignorance. This quenching is called nirota, which means quenching, extinguishing, to put out all these fires so that there is coolness. And this nirota is a synonym for nibbana. Nibbana means coolness. Nirota is the quenching, and when things are fully quenched, they are cool. Not cold, but cool. The 4th lesson in this last area of study, the study of Dhamma, is called Bhati Nitsaka. And this is where one has finished all the duties, all the things that need to be done have been completed. All attachment has ended, all suffering has been quenched, there's no more ignorance, all positive and negative has disappeared, having been illusions in the first place. And then there is nothing to do except acknowledge that none of these things are mine or are me or ever were. We can compare this to, and Bhatinitsaka means tossing away, just tossing everything away in acknowledgement that it's not me, it's not mine. This can be compared to the fact that previously, in our ignorance, we've been possessing everything, we've been stealing these bodies, these minds, these thoughts. We've been laying claim to everything as I and mine, which is basically an act of theft. But through the fading away of ignorance, we realize the stupidity of possessing these bodies and minds and everything else, and then just toss it all back. Toss it all back to nature, the rightful owner. This is called Atammayata, which is the fourth lesson and the final lesson of Anapanasati. An easy way to remember this is that we are thieves. We are thieves and have been thieves all our life. We're constantly stealing things, taking them to be I or mine. And because of this constant thieving, there also must be punishment. And the punishment is dukkha. Dukkha, I'm not talking about physical dukkha, but real dukkha. With this punishment of dukkha, we finally start to learn that something's wrong. And through the using anapanasati to delve deeper and deeper into the situation and the problems leads to atammayata. And then this cuts through all the attachments and ignorance until one realizes, oh, I've gone and been a thief all my life, foolishly stealing all these things from their rightful owner. Now, let's throw them all back. And so we throw everything back to nature. Throwing back is a better word. A minute ago I said throwing away, which is actually another word, wotsaka. Bhatinitsaka means throwing back. We don't just toss things away, but we throw it back, acknowledging that all of these things belong to nature, to Dhamma. We've now taken an overview of the system of practice called Anapanasati, and it briefly shown how it leads to the full understanding and realization of Atammayata, of unconcoctability. This is one structure, one way of explaining how this occurs. There's a different way of talking about it, and this is what we'll go into next. We'd like to talk about the Ariya Atankikama, the Noble Eight-Factored Path. The Noble Eightfold Path, or the Noble Eight-Factored Path, is something that has been discussed in many places, and so you can read about it in books, both by us and other places. It's not very difficult. The Noble Eightfold Path is one path or way of life, but to understand it more fully, it's explained in terms of its 8 factors: right understanding, right aspiration, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi, right concentration. These 8 factors cannot be separated. In fact, it's one path because it's just one life. When one maintains life, lives life, according to this Noble Eightfold Path, then there will be Atammayata all the time. The effect of following the Noble Eightfold Path, not in the future but right now, the effect right now is Atammayata, whenever the path is full and perfect. The essence of this is that it is correct and right. For it to be the Noble Eightfold Path, there must be correctness and rightness. This is very important. Often people forget about the correctness part, and so they never have the path. They never understand what is meant by the path. So first of all, there must be right view, right understanding, or samadhi. Samadhi is the way of looking at things, the way of understanding things, all our beliefs and views, as well as our ideals. All of these are correct. All these understandings are correct. Then this leads to right aspiration. Our aims, our goals, our needs are all correct. And then following this there is right speech. Speech is always correct. Right action and right livelihood, the way we maintain life, the way we go about getting the physical, the material and mental necessities of life. This is done correctly. Then there's right effort, doing one's best, putting full energy into everything one does, but doing so correctly. And then right mindfulness, mindful of the right things in the right way. This must be correct. And then finally, right samadhi, right concentration, where the mind is stabilized, collected, and focused in the right way, correctly. If all of these are correct, then they fit together into one correct whole. And that's what we call the Noble Eightfold Path. This is what leads to Atammayata. When all of these 8 factors are correct, then they come together in a whole. It's incredibly powerful. You don't just have 8 separate things kind of working on their own, but when the energy of all 8 of these factors come together, you've got 8 times the power and the strength. When all the factors are an integrated whole, very powerful whole, then it's given another name in the Pali. There are places where it's called Atammayata with 7 attendants. 7 attendants or supporters. The last factor is samadhi, which is often translated concentration. But the refined levels of concentration always have equanimity at their heart, the mind that is completely balanced in a clear equilibrium. So we could call it excellent right equilibrium with 7 attendants. The word adiya means excellent, superb, noble. And so the path is also called excellent right equanimity with 7 attendants. Or you could call it noble right concentration with 7 supporters. And please don't go and think that there are 8 paths. To think that there are 8 paths or many paths is to completely misunderstand. There's only one path. So please don't go and confuse the words 8-fold or 8-factored and think there are 8 paths. There's only one path. Please don't fall into the confusion of many people, even in Thailand, who've been Buddhists for hundreds of years, and they still misunderstand this. There's only one path. If you've got 8 paths, you'll never know which one to choose, and you'll never get anywhere. So it's understand it as one path which has eight components, or you could see it that has eight qualities. This single path has these 8 qualities to it. An easy way to see it is to talk about it in more physical terms. Someone's going on a journey. We need a correct map of where we are and where we're going. We need the right kind of aim, desire to travel. We need to have food and all the physical material supports needed for that journey. There needs to be restraint and safety in one's speech and conduct. There always has to be right effort to get anywhere, to travel. There must always be, we always have to put effort into it, but it has to be the right kind of effort. There must be awareness of where one is, where one's going, and awareness, mindfulness of anything that meets us along the way. And then there must always be the focus. The mind must be stable and focused on its destination. So all of these, so it's one path that has these 8 qualifications or qualities to it. If any of these qualities are missing, the path will not lead to the correct goal. When the 8 qualities are complete and full, and the path is whole, then there arises a 9th factor. Once the 8 factors are full and complete, there arises the 9th factor, which is called Atammayata, or right knowledge. Except be careful, it's knowledge for most of us has a very petty and trivial meaning. But here, jnana means knowledge that is correct, complete, knowing what must be known, what needs to be known. So it's complete knowledge, or full knowledge, perfect knowledge. This is the result of the path becoming whole. The 9th factor is this right insight knowledge. This word knowledge here is basically a synonym for panya, intuitive wisdom, or vipassana, insight. So it's this insight knowledge, this thorough insight knowledge is what results as the 9th factor. And in this there is Atammayata. This itself is Atammayata. And then the result of this, of Atammayata, is the 10th factor, which is called Sama Vimutti. Vimutti or Vimutti with a V, which means right emancipation, or even right salvation. When there is Atammayata, it cuts through everything that is trapping, that is tying up the mind, or we could say life, and then the mind is emancipated from all its bonds, from all bondage, all prisons, from all dukkha. This is the result of the realization of Atammayata. The 8 factors of the Noble Path are the causes, are the set of causes which lead to the two results of right insight knowledge and right emancipation. The first 8 factors are just the causes. They're not everything. They're just the causes. Then there are these 2 results of sama vimutti and samayana and sama vimutti. All 10 taken together can be said to be Buddhism in its entirety. All of Buddhism, to talk about all of Buddhism, there must be all 10 of these. Just the first 8 isn't enough. Buddhism, to be whole, encompasses the last 2 factors. Or altogether, these 10 are normally called the samatha, or the 10 samatta, the 10 states of being correct. There's this da word again. And sama means correct, right. So the 10 states of rightness or correctness. This is the heart and essence and whole entirety of Buddhism in these 10 factors. It's one thing with 10 factors, 10 qualities. Most of you have probably never heard of these, the samattas, the 10 samatha before. It's never written about in most of the books. You've all had a chance to hear about the Noble Eightfold Path, but you haven't heard the full story until you understand the samatha, the 10 samatha. The 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, these are the factors to be practiced. This is what is to be practiced. But when it's practiced until complete, there arises the second 2 factors. The 8 causes and the 2 results together. This is the whole story. This is what is complete. The Buddha said that anyone who has the Buddha as a good friend, anyone who takes the Buddha as their best friend, will escape from all the problems associated with birth, aging, illness, and death. Which means one who takes the Buddha as their best friend, as their good friend, their best friend, will not have any more dukkha in life. Dukkha happens in life, in the natural processes of birth, aging, illness, and death. With the Buddha as our best friend, we escape from all the dukkha associated with life. Notice that he used the word good friend, or kalayana mita. Mita means friend. Kalayana means good, beautiful, splendid, noble. So the Buddha used the word good friend. This is very important, the emphasis on a friend. He didn't use the word teacher, guru, master, boss, or owner, or priest, or any of these words. He just used the word good friend. And the meaning here is very, very special. If one takes the Buddha not as one's master or teacher, but as one's good friend, then one escapes from birth, aging, illness, and death. These things are no longer any problems for us. There's no dukkha in these natural processes of life. But look around us nowadays. We're hardly ever good friends anymore. The relationship is hardly ever one of being a good friend like the Buddha recommended. Instead, there are teachers, there are masters, there are bosses, people giving orders, and all kinds of things. please give a lot of consideration to the fact that the Buddha referred to himself not as a teacher or master, but as a good friend. And that if we take the Buddha as this good friend, we escape from all the problems of birth, aging, illness, and death. The most one could say would be that the Buddha is the leader, the one who walks first and then shows us the way. But in no way is the Buddha a dictator or an authority telling us what to do, trying to force us into anything. Buddha just shows the way for those who want to walk. And the Buddha said when one has him as their good friend, then one has the 10 samatha. If one really has the Buddha as your best friend, then all 10 samatha are there, all 10 complete and full. There's both Atammayata and the fruits of Atammayata and things, and it's all finished. The story is over. Whether by living with anapanasati, by using anapanasati as our way of living, or by taking the Noble Eightfold Path, the excellent eight-factored path, as our way of living. Either way, then we have the best friends that one can find. The four friends of sati, mindfulness, panya, intuitive wisdom, sampajanya, implied insight, applied insight, and samadhi, the concentrated, stabilized, equanimous mind. When we have all four of these friends, by living correctly, then there are no problems. We are safe from all dangers, both physical and mental. If we would like some holy water that cleanses away our sins, like they talk about in Christianity and in Hinduism. If we would like to have this, the Buddha said that you can. The best water for washing and cleansing away sins is the 10 samatha. The Buddha, or suppose we have eaten something poisonous, something very harmful, and it's in our stomach and intestines. The Buddha said that if we would need a purgative to clean it out, or something to make us vomit it up, the Buddha said that the 10 samatha are this purgative that flushes out everything foul, poisonous, and harmful. It's a vomitory, a medicine that makes us vomit up everything which is harmful, dangerous, dirty. And so these are some metaphors the Buddha used for the 10 states of rightness. They're the best friend one can have. They're the water that washes away all sins. They're the purgative that flushes out everything foul and dangerous. They're the vomitory that makes us throw up all the poison in us. Because there is Atammayata in these 10 samatha. Only because there's Atammayata in these 10 are they able to flush out all the poison, throw up all the garbage, and wash away all the sins, only because of Atammayata in those 10 states of rightness. We've been looking at the results of Atammayata. If one understands the results and effects of Atammayata, then you will understand Atammayata itself. So we've been looking at these results in order that you will better know what Atammayata is. Whether Theravada Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, no matter what form or version of Buddhism it is, if something is truly Buddhism, it teaches that all suffering arises from attachment to the 5 khandhas. The 5 khandhas are the 5 fundamental functions of human life, both the physical and mental processes that together make up human life. If we grasp at these as I and mine, then suffering arises immediately. To free life from suffering, one must cut these attachments to the 5 khandhas. That doesn't mean killing oneself or anything. It means just stopping the foolishness of attaching to things as I and mine. This is taught in all schools of Buddhism. So in fact, we don't need all the different schools of Buddhism. There's just one Buddhism, this essence of Buddhism that teaches all suffering comes from attaching to the 5 khandhas. Stop that attaching, and there's no suffering. If anything doesn't teach this, then it's not Buddhism. But anything, no matter what's going on the surface, if this is the core teaching, then this itself is the essence of Buddhism. And in that, you can see once again, Atammayata is what allows us to cut off those attachments to the 5 khandhas, so that life is free, so that there's no suffering anymore. If there's no Atammayata, then there's no Buddhism. If there's no Atammayata in something, then that thing isn't Buddhism. Because then there's nothing to cut through the attachments and free one from dukkha. There's no Buddhism in it, and it isn't Buddhism without Atammayata. There's no perfect awakening, and there would be no Buddha. There's no Buddha without Atammayata. There's no ultramundane. There's no transcendence of the world without Atammayata. Now we'd like to look at the Buddha himself. If there was no Atammayata, the prince Siddhartha never would have left home to search for the way out from suffering. Or once having left home in search of truth in the way out of dukkha, without Atammayata, the prince, now an ascetic, would have just gotten stuck at the highest level of knowledge available at that time. He wouldn't have been able to go beyond it. The last teacher that the Buddha stayed with was teaching a very deep and subtle state of concentration called Newa Sanyana Yatana, which means the experience which is neither experience nor non-experience. This is the experience that is neither perception nor non-perception, is another way of translating it, which we could call the utmost absorption, where the mind is so absorbed into itself. You can't say that the mind is experiencing anything, but you can't say that it's not experiencing. This was the highest mystical state taught in the Buddha's, before the Buddha appeared in the world. And the prince would have just got stuck there if there wasn't Atammayata. But because of Atammayata, the prince saw that this was not the end of suffering. This was not the end of dukkha. It was just a very refined state that was impermanent and not worth relying upon. So the Buddha said Atammayata and went beyond that until finding the true and total end of dukkha. Atammayata is used to progress from step to step to step. At every stage we tend to get stuck, and we get comfortable and feel secure and don't want to go any further. It's Atammayata that allows us to get unstuck so we can proceed to the next level and stage. If Atammayata keeps releasing us from the current stage, then we can go further and further until we are beyond all stages, when we have transcended all levels and all conditions. Any stage or level is just a condition, and there's dukkha in that condition. But to transcend all those levels, we need Atammayata to keep letting us free. Everything has what we call its atsada, which means the attractiveness. It's the charm. Everything has a charm, something that pulls and attracts us. And so first we get stuck in sexuality, in sensuousness and sexuality. It has an attractiveness, a deliciousness, and we get stuck in that. If the mind can go to a higher level, if there's enough Atammayata to abandon, to let go of this sensuality and sexuality and move to a higher level, then the mind will get stuck in pure forms, material things where one's attracted to just the materiality in itself, not the sensual pleasures that they can bring. And then one gets stuck in the pure forms. Then Atammayata allows us to let go, releases us from the attractiveness of these pure forms. And then one gets stuck in the formless, things that are beyond all form and materiality. But even these formless things like beauty, truth, justice, love, all these beautiful ideas, all these formless concepts, even these are impermanent and are dukkha. And so it eventually is too much for the mind. It's still concocting suffering. And so there is a Atammayata that releases the mind from the attractiveness of these formless things. And then the mind goes beyond all conditions. The sensual, the pure form, and the formless, these are all just conditions. They're just all states for ego to arise. And Atammayata releases the mind from all of that. So Atammayata releases the mind so that it can rise above all these conditions, be free of all these conditions, and transcend the entire universe, to be above and no longer trapped within the universe. This in Pali is called, that state of being beyond all conditions is called Nirodha. It's the quenching of all dukkha, the quenching of all states and conditions. This is another name for Nibbana, perfect coolness. This quenching or coolness of Nibbana doesn't have any attractiveness. It doesn't have any condition in any way whatsoever. So by now we've looked at the Dhamma benefits, the spiritual benefits of Atammayata from quite a number of angles. Now it would be interesting to take some time to look at some of the worldly benefits of Atammayata, ways that Atammayata can help us in just the ordinary worldly business of our lives. Any woman who has Atammayata can't be tricked by any man. No man will be able to make you fall in love. No man will be able to lure you. And then any man who has Atammayata, there won't be any woman anywhere who can lure you into love and trap you. So you don't turn into anyone's bait. So this is a very worldly benefit of Atammayata. One won't be the victim of all the advertising and deception that's filling up the world. There's no way that one will be a victim of any of that trickery and deception. One won't be a victim of any politics, politician, or political system. No one can hypnotize you. No one can implant thoughts and ideas in your mind. You won't get infatuated with material progress. Atammayata will lessen the amount of insane people and will lessen the amount of suicides. It will lessen crime and war. Atammayata will decrease all the various kinds of crisis in this world. It's not very difficult to observe that in this world full of science, technology, and material progress, people are really infatuated with the attractiveness, the deliciousness of these things produced in this modern technological world. People are so hooked on the attractiveness of these things that they become envious of each other, they compete, struggle, and fight. People are struggling for power in order to control as much as they can, even trying to control the entire world. And so this brings up all kinds of conflict and fills the world with crises all over the place. Atammayata can cut through that, will eliminate that being infatuated by getting caught up in all those attractive things, and will thereby cut through a lot of the crises in the world. All this wonderful knowledge about atoms and subatomic particles and outer space and the cosmos and all these things, all this increasing knowledge just leads to more jealousy and more competition. People take this knowledge and just try to use it to control the world more and more. So all this kind of knowledge is just leading to more competition and strife. Atammayata can free us from the attractiveness of that knowledge and allow us to live in peace. All the problems that exist, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, all of these will be eliminated from the world through the power of Atammayata. Whether you're going to live as a householder, a layperson, or a homeless one, you need to use Atammayata either way. Finally, we'd like to summarize, saying that all of you who are searching for the best thing in life, all of you who are looking for the best thing for a human being, for a human life, searching without really knowing what you're looking for, but somehow trying to find the best thing, what's most worthy and best and highest for human life. Would like to tell you that that best thing is Atammayata, the thing that one is searching for. If one's really looking for what is best and highest, that thing is Atammayata. This is the object of any genuine search. Or if you're looking for yourself, if you really find yourself, then you'll find that you've got problems. And you've got problems because you don't have Atammayata. And then you better find some Atammayata, better have Atammayata. And when one has Atammayata, then there are no more problems. So it's a good thing to look for oneself. But once you find yourself, don't stop there. When you find out you don't have Atammayata and realize that you need it, then find it and have it. And then you'll be free of all problems. Life won't have any more problems. You've heard the words probably, the world of the Messiah, the world when the Messiah has come and is then ruling the world correctly. In Buddhism, and many people are waiting for the coming of the Messiah. They're hoping for the Messiah's world. You can find the same kind of thing in Buddhism. Many Buddhists are waiting for the coming of the Maitreya Buddha. They talk about Sri Arya Maitreya coming, and then there will be a world of universal love and peace and kindness. This idea appears in Buddhism, in Hinduism, in Christianity. You ought to know that when Atammayata comes, then there is the Messiah. When Atammayata is ruling the world, then we will have the world of the Messiah, the world of Maitreya Buddha, of universal peace and love and harmony. In Hindu, it's called Galki. In Buddhism, Maitreya, and in Christianity, Messiah. When Atammayata is controlling the world, when the world is under the influence of Atammayata, then there are no defilements. When there aren't any defilements, then there is peace. And so Dhamma is running the world through Atammayata. Atammayata is like a spaceship which lifts us out of hell and takes us up to heaven. And then Atammayata is this spaceship which lifts us out of heaven and takes us beyond all worlds, takes us beyond the universe, beyond any condition, to where there's complete complete freedom. Atammayata is a spaceship like this. In the political field, with Atammayata, there won't be capitalists and there won't be communists. There will just be what we call Dhammic socialism. Everybody loves each other and works together for the common good, for the good of society. And so society is run through Dhamma rather than these conflicting political ideologies. There are not these opposite ideologies anymore. Atammayata has cut through them. And then everyone is just working together with kindness and love for the good of all. This is what we call Dhammic socialism. Everyone in the universe are friends in birth, aging, illness, and death. All of us share these fundamental experiences of birth, aging, illness, and death. So in fact, we're all one. We're all one friend. And so where are you going to find an enemy or an opposite? In the Al-Quran of Islam, it says that all human beings in the universe are just one human being. That can't happen without Atammayata. If there is Atammayata, then all human beings are one immediately. We very desperately need to create understanding among all religions. This is a very important objective. So we need to use Atammayata to eliminate all the conflict and opposition so that all religions can work together to truly help humanity. We need Atammayata to eliminate any of the conflicts and the oppositions between human beings and celestial beings, or between the poor and the rich, and whatever. Atammayata is necessary to cut through any opposition, any conflict, any competition. We can compare Atammayata to an ambrosia, an eternal elixir, that if we drink this elixir of Atammayata, then we will never die. So the Christians have this word, the Hindus have this word, and the Buddhists have this word. The Amrita water, the water of deathlessness, or the ambrosia, the elixir of life, of eternal. So we ask all of you, we implore all of you to study Atammayata the best you can and practice Atammayata completely and fully, and so that you have Atammayata and there are no more problems, no more dukkha in this life. So allow us to end these lectures on Atammayata. And once again, we'd like to thank you for being very good and patient listeners.